very first rip here. I just shot the little intro you just saw pulling out of the garage. I've got limited time with the sun today. It's been very cloudy out here. So all I've done is driven it from the garage to right here, about 20 feet, no turns. And I'm going to do an initial first rip here, and so we've got it set to maximum everything. Oh, and it looks good driving around. It definitely turns on a dime. Whoa! It's got some power. Let's check out the steering radius on this real quick. I'm just going to do a full lock. That's pretty good. That's pretty impressive. Whoa! It'll spray rocks at you. It's definitely twitchy. The steering is very twitchy. Whoa! Wasn't expecting it to go that way. Get it out on the road. I'm not ready to put it into the water yet. That's coming though. Ooh, I think I need some more AVCS. Let's see. It's off entirely. So I had AVCS entirely off there. Let's move it to 50%. Oh yeah, that's much more controllable. All my little scale accessories are holding on nice. I love just how realistic that suspension lean is. It's so realistic looking. It'll rip some donuts. Alright, I just can't do my very first impressions without at least one jump. And find something scale that won't get it completely disgusting. The flags are just, it's blowing in the wind because they're light enough to actually blow in the wind. Oh, that's super cool. Alright, we'll come back out in a little bit. Second battery pack for the Losi RZR Rey. And I noticed after filming the first one that apparently my editing software does not like 240 FPS from the GoPro. So the slow-mo will only be able to get 4x slow, is what it is. But I'm here to put some more trigger time in with this guy, get a feel for it, maybe find some more jumps. Very happy so far with how the silicone flapping I put in the front around the steering servo is working. All the other stuff is basically gone other than the one around the power button. That's staying on pretty well. So if you're going to do that silicone flapping, maybe only bother with the around the steering servo and maybe the power button. The rest is just simply not staying. So I'm going to try to hit some smaller jumps. Again, anybody who's sending this into the moon, I don't really think that's the appropriate use for it. It's a really scale rig, and sending it, you know, 3 side-by-sides, 4 side-by-sides tall, although like technically people do it in real life, they also break stuff and die. So yeah, and this kind of like loose dirt, dude, this thing is just killer. Like, this is what these tires are meant for. Some slow-mo shots of this very small impromptu jump here. So it endoed pretty hard, but it didn't roll. So just like the real versions of these, they have a tendency to kick the tail end into the air when they leave the ground. So in order to counter that, you need to stab the throttle right as it leaves the jump. That was much better. See, with that one, I didn't stab the throttle in the right timing, so the tail kicked up into the air. Because these have big trailing arm suspension, they act as this giant lever of a spring that really kicks the tail end skywards if you don't launch off your jump correctly. Let's try it again, see if I can get the right throttle control. Yeah, so see, that's right throttle control right there. A stab of the throttle right as you're leaving the ramp, and it stays nice and flat. Boy, this thing's seen some mud already. It's light mud, but it's dirtier than I was planning on getting it. That probably is gonna look awesome. Ready? He's gonna do a zoom. Ready? I'm out here in the middle of my initial review for the Losi RZR Rey, and this is my 4th pack now. I've unfortunately had some unfortunate losses when it comes to my video footage. I had about 20 minutes of video get lost entirely, and in that I had some major crashes. I did some testing about like a rollovers, right? And originally my review was going to be like my first 3 packs, and I've lost all that. You've just seen the customization video most likely. So I've got another week, so instead of the first 3 packs, it's probably going to be my first like 5 or 8 or so. It's holding up very well so far. My paint job is not. The A-arms are already getting beat up, but that's okay. I knew that was going to happen, particularly with my no prep version. But everything else is holding up great. Whips are holding up great. Scale accessories have yet to fly out. Haven't broken anything. It's just been an all-out good machine, so I'm gonna get a little more kind of initial running video here out on my road right now. Do a little top speed run. I do have AVCS on about 30%, maybe 33%. This is flat out. Whoa! Okay, that's an extremely hard hit. I didn't like that. That was not planned. What the hell did I hit? I have no idea. Steering still works, so that's good. Holy shit. That was a hard hit. All right, my light bars are out of place, which is unsurprising, but oh man, I almost lost my scale cooler. Did I break anything? Everything appears to be okay. Body didn't separate. No cracked Lexan. I know some people have been having issues with the rims cracking. I haven't had that yet. So, whew, all right. That was a hard, fast hit. I haven't done an official speed run. I know this thing gets upwards of about 40, 45, I think. That's what the other YouTubers have said. Seems okay. So that's good. Let's see if I diff it out. Those two are working. Those two are working. Okay. Seems okay. I think I know what I hit, and I didn't mean to. Well, I don't know. What did I hit? It's coming through. Where's my initial flip? You know, it must have been right here. Oh, I lost my front plate. Well, that was just stuck on. My rear plate's still on. Well, no failure of that. That was a super hard hit. All right, I'll have to put this back on later. There's definitely where I landed. So I think I hit that jump back there flat out, and I didn't really mean to. That is like 20 feet it was airborne for. Still seems to be tracking straight. That's good. All right, well, since I just crashed it, so some people have had some questions about rollovers with this thing and how it handles rollovers, right? So they're saying it's really tippy, which real razors are kind of tippy. So right, they're saying like, oh, if you lock it up full speed, right, it's gonna roll. If you look at the body roll, that's very much a possibility. Now, I've done this test once before and it went flying, where I basically went flat out, and again I lost the footage, unfortunately. But given I just crashed this thing super hard, I don't think crash is going to get much harder than that. We'll do it one more time for science, for YouTube. So this is going to be basically flat out, and I'm going to yank the wheel all the way to one side to see what happens. This is a loose dirt road surface. I'd say it's probably ideal. So full speed. Yep. That probably wasn't even full speed. It was full trigger. But it wasn't necessarily full speed. My scale accessories all want to come out, which is unsurprising given they're held in by bungees. But everything seems okay. No cracks. Bumper's okay. The bracing behind the bumper looks to be intact. The body shell even stayed on. So, oh, back here we got a little separation going on. Actually, that might be normal. Yeah, that's normal. Never mind. That's supposed to separate right there because that comes up with the other half of the body. So, yeah, no damage, it would appear. Nothing seems bent. Frame's okay. A-arms, trailing arms are okay. Front end, everything looks good. So, will the Losi RZR Rey roll if you turn at full speed? Absolutely. I'd say most RCs would likely do that. And it's just like they're going for scale bashing here, right? Like the UDR. So it's not about making the most stable, performance oriented RC for Losi here with this one. It's about making the most realistic one. And having driven side by sides, having watched countless hours of footage driving side by sides, I can tell you this thing is handling just like a real one, which is what I'm here for. You know, it may not be the fastest, it may not be the most performance oriented, but it's handling it very realistically. My Lexan still got some cracks around the whips and such, but they don't seem to have gotten any worse, even from a crash like that. So I'm gonna try to stop crashing it at this point. I don't really want to blow this thing up after the week of work I've spent on it. I'm gonna put the camera down and get some just kind of cool close-up shots. we've had yet another rollover. It definitely handles like a real one. Oh boy. We've got the cracking going on. That is extremely disappointing. So, how's everything else? I have had the body click away, like some other people have reported. Everything other than that rim seems okay. I'm not sure if that's my paint cracking. It could be, but I don't think so. I think I just shattered the rim, but it seems to be holding together. So I'm gonna just keep running it. This is definitely a scale basher. This is not your everybody can run this basher. The tire seems to still be running okay. It's holding together at least. Even under a lot of throttle, it's still holding together. I'm out here on my, this is probably my 5th or 6th pack of this review, my kind of initial impressions. And even with the busted rim from the last session, it's still holding together. Losi has made that right, which is excellent to see. I sent them an email and basically was just like, hey, you know, I've just got this thing. It's like my 5th battery pack. It hasn't been more than a foot off the ground, and I've already cracked a rim. Sent them some pictures. They're sending me out a new set of mounted rims and tires, free of charge, which is great. Same day they made the decision. I'm not sure when they'll be here. They didn't give me a tracking number, but until then, I'm still just running it on that busted up rim, and it's still holding together. So if you do get one of these and you crack those rims, they seem to hold together. So today I have set up a little cone track in my driveway here. It's one of the things I like to do with new RCs, or when I'm training children to ride dirt bikes or four-wheelers. And I set up this kind of similar slalom course here, and I'm just running it around, really trying to get a feel for accurate control of the rig. Oh, first corner. The dangers of trying to get awesome GoPro shots right there. This poor camera. My GoPro can't catch its brake. I suck. boy, and I'm hitting this thing rough and rough. I can't stop hitting it. I guess I should stop trying to do J-turns into it, huh? Okay, YouTube, so I'm going to give you my kind of final thoughts here regarding the Losi 1/10 scale RZR Rey. After, I think I've probably put at this point 8 to 10 battery packs through it. I've kind of lost count. I didn't record all of it. As I said earlier in the video, I've had some unfortunate losses regarding some of the video footage, including a couple of real gnarly crashes that I just lost all the footage from my GoPro, sadly. Unfortunate to see that happen. But overall, this thing is really fun. It's held up very well to a couple of those really big crashes. Again, it is unfortunate. I had this rim cracking issue right here. However, quick email to Losi cleared that right up. They've already shipped out the new tires and rims pre-mounted that are on the way to me. So it's great to see them make that right. So if you experience that same kind of rim cracking, give Losi an email and hopefully they'll make it right for you as well. So the Losi RZR Rey here is not an RC for everyone. This is definitely not your everyman's RC. It should not be your first RC by any means, in my opinion. But it is super fun. So this RC is really about scale bashing. I put it in the exact same category as the Traxxas UDR, right? It's first and foremost focused on being realistic to its 1/1 counterpart. In this case being the Polaris RZR Turbo R. And because of that, it has limitations that a RC that was not trying to imitate anything else may not have, right? It's got trailing arms, which means with how you hit jumps, right, it will catapult that rear end into the air, as you saw in some of the jump footage from earlier in the video. If you lock it up and turn real hard, it's going to aggressively roll. These are things that Losi was definitely aware of when they were building this RC. And frankly, I applaud their commitment to building an RC that is scale realistic. That is my favorite thing about RCs, is I love when they look dead on. It's why I spent all that time in my customization video building this thing out, painting the engine bay, you know, putting whips on it, right? These don't have any practical purpose. They just look cool, just like the real ones. So I applaud Losi for that, and I really think they did a great job on this RC, other than some little things like I think the rims need to be redesigned. I would like to see a slightly different battery tray as well, that's maybe a little more accommodating of batteries that are not the specific Spectrum batteries that they recommend. That battery tray has no ability to use Velcro. You have to use that tie-down strap. It does come with some foam padding to allow you to use smaller batteries, but if you want to use anything bigger, you're kind of out of luck, and it is somewhat a constraint of the chassis, but I feel like they could have done something to make the battery tray a little bit more accommodating to other batteries. It's very much going to be guess and check if you're trying to buy a battery that's not the Spectrum official batteries. I want to address some of the concerns I've read online pretty heavily around this RC. The first one being, is it underpowered for its size? It's got 3S electronics in it, you know, and it's big for a 1/10 scale. Again, I think it's closer to 1/7 scale, as Hemistorm RC proved, which I'll put a link to that video right here. It does not need more power. So for those of you who are going, hey, this thing needs more power, you know, to justify the price tag, which we'll talk about the price in a second here. I honestly don't think that this chassis needs any more power. I think if you put more power in it, you're going to really start breaking this thing. It already does roughly 40 miles an hour. It's a 1/7 scale. The real Polaris Turbo Rs top out from the factory at about 60 to 70 miles an hour. So this thing going 40 is already, scale-wise, right, like you're doing a couple hundred miles an hour. I don't feel like doing the real math, but you know what I'm saying, right? If you scale the speed up, it's super fast, right? It'd be like taking a 1-1 scale, real one, and making it do 150. You could do it. It would not go well, right? You try to turn, you die if you're trying to turn at 150 miles an hour. Unsurprising. It's got enough power to get up and go. It's got enough power to hit some good jumps. You can already send it way higher than the chassis can take, right? If you hit a big jump, you'll launch it, and you know, I really don't think this thing should be going more than a few feet in the air, given what it's trying to do. So I don't think it needs more power. 3S is fine. Not everything needs to be an 8S monster like the X-Max, or, you know, whatever you want to send this thing to the moon with. It doesn't need more than 3S. It's totally fast. Battery lasts a long time. Motor does great. I think the choice of electronics was correct by Losi here. Now and on top of the electronics, I do think the stock electronics, this was my first experience with some Spectrum electronics and controllers and stuff. They all seem quite nice. I like the controller. I have relatively small hands, and I can one-hand steer it if I need to. Lots of easy controls. I do like the battery indicator on it that works when you're using the Spectrum batteries. I wish it would work with regular batteries as well, that way you could use some cheaper batteries and still get the smart features of the battery. But you know, it's a Losi, it's a Horizon hobby. You're going to be locked into those Spectrum components until you start changing things, particularly for an RTR. Now, on to the topic that has really been tearing up YouTube comment sections, Reddit, Facebook groups. Is this overpriced at $630 with no battery, US? Somewhat. I would obviously like to see things cheaper, right? I'm a small channel, I'm not sponsored, I'm buying this stuff with my own hard-earned cash from my day job. $600 is a lot to spend on a 1/10 scale. However, it's more reasonable if you consider this a 1/7 scale, which it really is. Like, sure, it's the physical size of a 1/10 scale platform, but because this is supposed to be a smaller vehicle, it rides like a 1/7 scale. It rides a lot bigger than the chassis it's on. It's kind of hard to put that thought into words, but I really do feel like this is a 1/7 and not a 1/10. I would love it to be cheaper, don't get me wrong. I would say, you know, there's a lot of really cool custom parts here that are not on any of the Losi RCs. You've got the trailing arm suspension, you've got, you know, licensed wheels and tires, and of course the entire thing is licensed with those beautiful stock body panels that come with it that I immediately replaced with my own livery. I feel like the answer to is this overpriced is a little bit. I think it's not as overpriced as a lot of people on the internet are saying. A lot of people are saying this thing should come in at $400. I'd love that from a personal perspective, but I think realistically this maybe should come down to the about $500 to $550 mark, or potentially you know, maybe $550 and include the battery and a basic charger. I think that would be the sweet spot for it. I think a lot of people would be disappointed with this rig if they were buying it just to bash, because it does roll. It endos when you jump. It requires a lot of skill. This thing is harder to drive than my X-Max is, by a huge margin. It's tippy, you know, and it endos when you jump. It endos super easily when you jump. I think if you want to buy one of these, you need to think long and hard about what you really want to use it for, right? For me, I love the scale realism. I don't mind jumping it off jumps that don't get it more than a foot in the air. So, it's a great RC if you want a scale basher to have fun with. If you want a true basher to send to the moon, this is not the rig for you. If you're getting your very first RC, this is probably also not the rig for you, as it's so tippy. These would be a really cool pack-in if you went and go to a Polaris dealer and buy a Polaris RZR, right? Sometimes you'll see car dealers do that kind of thing. That would be super cool. I think it would be super fun to get a bunch of these together and have a racing league with them. The handling characteristics are really fun. It's a lot of fun. You just have to know what you're getting when you come into it. Is that you are getting a scale basher that is going to handle just like a real side-by-side and isn't going to be able to go to the moon. It shouldn't be 4S, 6S rated, right? You could do a conversion. I think it would be useless and you'd break a bunch of parts. You're getting a nearly perfect scale replica of a real vehicle that handles like the real vehicle and looks like the real vehicle, and it's super fun for that. So for those of you who are maybe trying to think like, is this going to be my only RC? Don't do that. If you're going to spend $630 on a basher, go get a Max, or go get you know, any of the scale bashers out there that, or the regular bashers out there, sorry, that come in at that price point, because $600 will pretty much get you a Traxxas Max, and it's a great basher. This is not one I'd want to give to kids. It really is for probably the adult who maybe has an interest in side-by-sides. Shout out to side-by-side blog guys, they got me into the side-by-sides, and the reason I have a real one sitting in my garage. You know, it's for the guys who are into side-by-sides, it's for the guys who want a Traxxas UDR, anybody who's doing scale stuff, right? This is who that is for. It's not for your everyday basher. It's for somebody who's probably a little older with some gray in their beard, has a bit of money in their pocket from a tax return or something, and is just looking for a really cool side-by-side to, you know, sit around and have some smaller bashing, you know, stuff that doesn't require a motocross track or a BMX pump track to launch the thing off of to have a good time like a Max or an X-Max does. So overall, do I recommend you, if you should spend your hard-earned money on this? Maybe. Maybe. You know, make your own decision on if you want a real basher, don't buy it. If you want something that's going to be really stable, don't buy it. If you want a super scale, realistic recreation of a Polaris RZR Turbo R, and you understand its limitations, buy it. Do I wish it was $500? Yes. The market has changed. Supply chain issues have driven everything through the roof. It is what it is. We live in this world. I hope they keep making this for a long time. I hope they maybe reduce the price a little bit. But overall, I think it is generally worth the money as long as you understand the limitations of this platform, of this machine. Because I've had a super fun time with it. I have no intention of selling it, and I'm going to keep running this thing. So you're going to see some videos coming up trying to get that scale look. You know, running videos where I try to make it look as real as possible. I'm going to be doing the mud flinger video where I put the Fling Kings on here and drive it through some badass mud holes once I get some forming on my road back there. So if you want to see all that stuff, you got to subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps me a ton. I'm a small channel. I'm trying to get to that monetization level so I can start, you know, maybe not using my day job dollars for this channel and hobby. So if you got any questions, leave them in the comments below. Please subscribe, please hit that like button, please hit that notification button, all that standard YouTube stuff, and I'll see you next time.